Throughout history, cemeteries have been labeled as deep, dark, and dangerous places. Literature and film have expanded on this idea, portraying cemeteries as ghastly locations cloaked in night and full of vampires, ghosts, zombies, and goblins. However, cemeteries might not be as spooky as our media portrays them to be. Did you know that the city of Red Wing owns 2 cemeteries? One of them is the historic Oakwood Cemetery. Set upon a large bluff at the end of East Avenue, Oakwood was established in 1854 and lives on as one of the oldest cemeteries in Goodhue County. This beautiful spot has served as the final resting place for approximately 18,000 people throughout Red Wing's history. Let's see what lies within the deep, not-so-dark shadows of Red Wing's own Oakwood Cemetery by first bringing its history back from the dead. This is part 1 of Oakwood Cemetery. Think back to Red Wing's early years as settlements and roads began to form around the bustling Mississippi River. As the community expanded, the need for proper burial grounds grew. In 1854, 2 men, Samuel A. Hart and David Hancock, were selected by the Land Claim Association to find a spot for the cemetery. They formed a committee to survey and designate the site we now know as Oakwood Cemetery. Burying your dead on that towering bluff was already in practice. Maria Hancock, the wife of early missionary J.H. Hancock, and her son, Willie, were said to have been buried there as early as March of 1851. Soon after picking the location, Hart and Hancock purchased 35 acres on the bluff for $3.50 an acre. The city of Red Wing officially acquired the cemetery in December of 1857. For years, the grounds remained unplotted. People would bury their dead wherever they wanted to, at no cost and little order. It wasn't until 1864 that, by order of City Council, the cemetery was officially plotted and named Oakwood. At that time, sites cost just $6 apiece. The Register of Burials dates back to 1858, with the burial of Francis J. Schmidt, although there are most likely countless unrecorded burials before that. During the winter months, Oakwood Cemetery was closed. Access to the cemetery proved challenging because of its location on the towering bluff, with the upkeep required to keep the roads plowed. To store bodies during the winter months, a wintering overhouse was completed in 1880, found halfway up the bluff. Cemetery workers would store bodies in the small structure until the ground thawed for proper burial in the spring. The original road leading up to the bluff originally stopped at the wintering overhouse. Hearses parked at the structure, and pallbearers carried the caskets up the rest of the hill towards the burial plot. In 1889, the Board of Trustees of City Cemeteries was established. This board was responsible for the management of all city cemeteries, especially Oakwood. The board's first task was the replotting and beautification of the cemetery. Inspired by Adolf Stouch's lawn plan, nature was now going to be emphasized at Oakwood moving forward. The board proudly proclaimed a clear vision for the grounds, as laid forth in their rules and regulations document.
Hence it is that the advanced sentiment of the age finds in the smooth undulation of wooden lawns the silent responding hills to vale, the stateliness of noble trees, the reverent benediction of leafy branches, the deep murmur of breeze and bough, the listening stillness of lead and zephyr breath, the tinting of beautiful flowers, the voicing of wild birds, the broad band of noonday light upon the tall monument, and the soft, glinting, broken sunbeams touching gently the humble headstone, finds in these each and all blending the harmony of elements that most beautifully and poetically expresses the hallowed memory and the joyous serenity and the bright rest of dear friends who have gone on before.
More trees were planted, paths were reworked, and even a pond, which no longer exists, was created to make the cemetery a gorgeous resting place for all of Red Wing's dead. Many more rules and regulations were added, including the banning of dogs, picnics, and alcohol. Many Red Wing citizens spoke to Oakwood's beauty. The Board of Cemeteries resounded with,
"Did Oakwood Cemetery possess in scenic ornament but this one attraction, it were enough to entitle the place to marked consideration. But, blending all these diverse and rare characteristics, it is worthy the most liberal admiration of any connoisseur and lover of the varied forms and moods of landscape beauty."
Red Wing is lucky to have Oakwood Cemetery within its limits. With its fascinating history, Oakwood has stood the test of time as the ideal spot for citizens of Red Wing to bury their dead. Next time, we'll take a look at some of the famous monuments and landmarks scattered throughout the cemetery. Thanks for watching!